I am back with a new episode of AI Chronicles. We have been seeing advanced AI techniques being used in different sectors in healthcare from decades, but now with the rise in generative AI, I got curious to see how and what are the different use cases people are using it for in healthcare. And that's why I invited my guest today, who is the founder and company lead of Infinitus Systems, Ankit Jain. Hi, Ankit. Can you tell us about Infinitus to our audience?
Sure. Sonal, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about AI and generative AI and what that could mean for healthcare. What I lead, it's a company named Infinitus Systems based out of San Francisco, and we automate back office operations in healthcare, specifically in and around the prior authorization workflows. A lot of those happen over the phone. While in many other industries, data exchanges hands digitally using APIs. Healthcare isn't as well built out. In the last 15 years, if we think about what's happened in healthcare, the internal systems at almost every healthcare organization have improved dramatically. Instead of going to a
Mhm.
doctor's office or a hospital where you see files, folders, and full of files that are paper, you now see an electronic medical record system. And that's great. But the systems that integrate different entities in healthcare to each other still depend on phone calls and faxes. So the way a hospital coordinates with an insurance company, there's some digital connections there, but still a lot of work that happens in analog ways with phone calls and faxes. The same thing can be said between doctors' offices and pharmacies, or pharmacies and insurance systems, or just think about our experience as patients. The way
Mhm.
we schedule appointments more often than not is in a pretty analog way. Someone gives us a call, or we call the doctor's office to schedule. A lot of
Mhm.
that is ready for disruption, and AI and technology can be used to really unlock that time that is locked up today.
Nice. That is, yeah, that you're very correct. Like the faxes and the papers and all those analog systems, they're crazy efficient and long time back, but now it's like, okay, things are getting digitized. But yeah, thanks for the introduction, and I have some interesting questions for you for today's conversation. So you mentioned, electronic health records and insurance and whatnot. So just like around that, what are some of the most promising AI technologies or applications in the healthcare sector today that you may have come across or seen?
Yeah, there's so many different use cases. Every part of healthcare is full of data,
Mhm.
and it's full of judgments and decisions being made. And I think every single one of those points, every single one of those junctures can be made more efficient, more informed if AI can sit side by side with the person that is doing it. So you think about scheduling. Well, for simple scheduling, there's no reason a machine can't have that conversation with a patient to find the best time to do a procedure or to see a doctor. There's no reason why a back office worker, instead of sitting there waiting on hold for half an hour just to get a few pieces of information, can't
Mm,
use a platform like ours to make those phone calls. Our digital assistants, our AI agents can make those phone calls, get all the information, and put it back into the systems where they belong. You can also think about companies that are helping doctors take their notes and summarize them, this AI scribe
mm,
companies that exist, so that the doctor doesn't have to spend as much time documenting things as seeing patients. That will give them breaks between patients, that will make sure they're not working during pajama time, and it'll make sure that those doctors are able to see even more patients than they are today. And then after you see a patient, often there is a whole claims denials appeals process that happens. Again, very manual, full of people doing this work that are doing the same thing over and over again. It is
mm,
a great place for AI to come in and make things
mhm.
more efficient. Now, all of these examples that I gave you so far are examples of augmenting processes today in
Right.
order to make them more efficient. But I think there's a whole other class of opportunities that AI can open up. AI can and technology can look through data that today we don't have the resources to look through, to surface issues that can be prevented way
Mm,
before they would come up. Often we go to our doctor when we have a symptom that is noticeable. My head's hurting, or I'm coughing a lot for the last 3 4 months, or I'm getting sluggish. But what if
mhm.
there was other data that we've been collecting over time, which the healthcare system does? It's very good about collecting data about
Right.
each of us and about the population, try and start getting these kind of signals into decision makers' hands to go, hey, is there a decision to be made here? There's something, there is, data of interest that you should look at. And then the
Hmm.
job of those humans can be to almost get ahead of it and tell a patient, hey, let's dig into this a little bit more so that we can prevent something before it becomes an issue. So instead of becoming reactive, how can we have the healthcare system be proactive?
Right, right. Well said. Yeah, I like how you said, like, rather than being reactive, be more proactive. That makes sense. And so, historically speaking, how do you think the use of AI technology has evolved in healthcare? You mentioned something like AI agents can do this and that. So, like, especially like, with generative AI in existence, I'm curious how in healthcare people are using these technologies.
Yeah, I like to break down the use of AI into two buckets:
Okay.
agents that can do processes end to end, and then
Hmm.
co-pilots that help a person do something side by side.
Right.
And we've seen a lot of interest for healthcare co-pilots, AI co-pilots in the last couple of years, and I think that'll continue for the next few years. I think there's, for good reason, a little bit of conservative motion when it comes to adopting AI, because this can be the difference between someone being able to get on therapy and not. This can be the difference between life and death, literally. And so, at least as we are experimenting with and learning what this technology can do and cannot do, it's important to
Mm.
have that human oversight in there. And almost every major healthcare entity is building governing boards and review boards to make sure that AI and generative AI are used correctly with the right guardrails,
Right.
and put into place in a way that is fair, that is responsible, and that does not have biases that only
Hmm.
hurt, that only help certain populations, certain socioeconomic groups, certain people with certain language barriers, etc.
Right. And also, like, I think just what I was trying to say is with human in the loop, not just like, to programmatically set all those like guardrails. I think, do you think like the human in the loop will also be required, especially with, healthcare being such a sensitive area?
Yeah, I mean that's where the AI co-pilots are. They're sitting side by side with humans who end up uh, verifying their work. Almost every AI scribe writes
Mm-hmm.
its summary of an encounter, and then the doctor or nurse practitioner has to review it and sign off on it. Similarly, when we automate processes like a phone call to check the benefits for a patient, whether certain therapies or procedures are covered, the next step is often scheduling it, or the next step is
Right.
figuring out if a prior auth is required. It needs to be initiated. So it's a natural handoff to a human who can then also say, well, does this make logical sense or not, or was something wrong there? So having those humans in the loop through these long, complicated processes, one is doable, and two, almost required right now.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. So, what do you think are the biggest challenges or limitations in implementing these different techniques in healthcare?
I always say that in healthcare, everyone is aligned in making the patient experience better, because
Hmm.
it's personal to all of us. If I can improve healthcare, I'm improving it for myself,
Yeah.
because I will be a patient. It's not like
Hmm.
there's any part of our population that can say, I never deal with healthcare. All of us. So we're kind of,
Yeah.
everyone's aligned on that, but we also want to make sure we do things correctly. And that's why I think most great technologies do end up in healthcare the right way. And it's always a question of when, not if. So you have to
Right.
be there to iterate with patience and get there. It's not a
Mhm.
question of if it will happen. Everyone knows the future of healthcare is going to be even more technology driven than it is today. But we
Mm.
want to make sure we do so in a safe, scalable, and an impactful way.
And then, like, from, that would also benefit, like, of course, improving the patient outcome and
Of
easier
course.
for health doctors as well. That makes sense. So, since we are talking about, how this healthcare information is sensitive, and so right now with all the technologies that are being used, what measures are in place to ensure the security of this, sensitive healthcare information?
Yeah, I think every healthcare institution has their own policies and procedures on how their data needs to be governed. And companies like ours try to make sure that we respect the requirements of every single one of our customers. So as a
Mm-hmm.
vendor, we go through a pretty detailed and thorough examination. It's called a third party risk assessment of all the different parts of our security posture, of how we store data, how we retain data, how we use data for AI and machine learning. Some
Mm-hmm.
customers work with us more in more detailed way than others. Some are development partners, some are purely customers, and how we partner with every entity varies as well. And it's important for us to not only have our own security posture, but be able to go get third-party validation of it. So we do things like very routine penetration tests. We do, we've gotten our SOC 2 Type 2 certification from a third-party auditor, and there's a number of things of that sort that we do that our customers sometimes require, or sometimes we say that's the right thing to do to make sure that data, whether it's sensitive or not, is handled
Mm-hmm.
in the appropriate
With
way.
care. Yeah, yeah, agreed. So, going into like talking about your company, how are you and your team using AI or generative AI at Infinitus?
Yeah, so we automate phone calls. So our AI agent makes phone calls and has conversations that can be a couple of hours long with a human on the other side. And so the three building blocks of any conversational AI system are speech recognition,
Mm-hmm.
natural language processing, and then speech synthesis. Each of these is built on top of the cutting edge of AI, understanding what a person does and being able to revert to it in near real time. We
Mm-hmm.
have to understand the context. We have to understand the the idiosyncrasies of that specific conversation. If you're calling about a multiple sclerosis drug, and checking the benefits of it, which is going to be infused at one of many infusion centers, that looks very different than a self-injected medication that you pick up at your local CVS. And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to scale up the medical knowledge or scale it down, being able to understand different accents and understand different, because you don't know who you're talking to on the other side.
Right.
All of those pieces require a lot of intelligence and cognition that we've had to build throughout our system.
Right. So, like, who are like, I guess, who would use this conversational agent? I know, I mean, in my head, there are so many different people or organizations that could use, but have you seen some of them being commonly using it?
Yeah, we because we deal a lot with specialty medications that tend to treat patients of semi-rare or rare diseases. We work with some of the biggest specialty pharmacies in the country. We're working with a
Mm.
number of infusion centers, some very large financial assistance programs, as well as some of the biggest insurance companies. Those are the big
Okay.
groups that um, we've worked with to date.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense. So, with all the knowledge that you shared, I want to like end the conversation with this one important question that I keep thinking about pretty often. So, what advancements in AI technology do you foresee having the biggest impact on healthcare in, say, next 5 or 10 years, maybe?
Yeah, I think these advancements are happening faster than we can
Yeah, we can.
than we can imagine. And so I think thinking 5 or 10 years is very, very far forward. I would say even in the
Mhm.
next year, we're going to start to see AI agents that have an incredible amount of empathy given a situation, which in healthcare plays a big role, a big part of what a provider and their team does for patients
Mm,
is actually just be there to answer questions, is be available, be empathetic, and allow the patient to appreciate the gravity of the situation, um,
mhm.
and accept it. And I think AI will provide a really nice partner to those providers in helping patients go through that journey. One of the things that I find myself saying pretty often is society is made very well to come around individuals when someone is born, when someone gets married, or when someone dies. You have that community to celebrate and mourn. But healthcare, and when you're going through a difficult patch with your personal health or someone in your family, feels very lonely. Because
Hmm.
we don't share everything going on with our health with
Right.
everybody else. It's just not what we do naturally. We feel almost ashamed about it, or we're private about it, or we're like, I'm not ready to share this big news that might be heavy for others with everybody around me. And so
Hmm.
healthcare becomes lonely. You almost feel like you're the only one going through it, when the truth is we're all going through
All
it in
going
our
through.
own
Yeah.
ways. And AI technology can be that partner for us, that companion for us, to help us see the bigger picture, to help us be positive, because a lot of things can be fixed if you are positive in those moments of absolute despair. And I
Hmm.
think that's going to help the healthcare ecosystem be a better partner to patients and their families as they go through that journey.
Interesting. Never thought it from that perspective. AI agents having empathy, that's going to be big if it is possible. Cool. Thanks a lot, Ankit. This was a wonderful conversation with you. And yeah, thanks for sharing your wisdom and knowledge about how people are using AI in healthcare.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having me.